Hello, how's it going everybody? Silent Deviant here with another boss guide. I think this is number 6, not 100% sure. I didn't really count before I started the recording session. But anyway, so on to the Dirty Scissor. This guy is level 50 or 120, and he is the Subway A boss. You will eventually bump into him in the storyline, as is the rest of this guide is just going streamlined through the story and all the bosses. Anyway, he is very similar to the Angry Berserker and the Hooligan Beast enemy types that you would find around the outskirts of the Old South and the Solitary Sands maps. I can't remember what the other name is for this enemy type either, but I remember Hooligan is one of them, so that's what I decided to go with right there. They're just always roaming in duos in the outskirts of these maps. But anyway, this guy has a couple of really fucking annoying attack patterns that can easily take you out if you're not careful, and he is extremely resilient. He is a literal damage sponge. Also note that there's a bug on this map in particular where allies will just simply stand still and do nothing. I'll explain this one in greater detail if you want to move over to the normal mode run, which is in the timestamps below to go through the rest of the guide. Anyway, unsure of what this cause is, but that's where you would find the information for it in detail. Okay guys, so here's a list of everything that he does in terms of his moveset, because this guy actually has a pretty diverse set of attacks. One of the first things that he typically does is just charge straight at you shortly after you walk into the door. This attack is exactly like the Hooligans. It hurts pretty bad, but the attack has terrible tracking, allowing you to be able to just circle around him. You can't bank on those speeds, Jimmy. The next attack is a really fucking annoying one that he'll use quite a bit, actually, which is sort of a zigzag series of leaps. This attack by itself has hit me more than anything else in his arsenal, just because of the weird nature of his movements. My best tip for you is just to pay attention to where he goes first. If he bobs left, obviously he will bob right, once the first leap has completed, and then you can reposition accordingly, so just make sure that you zig and you don't zag, or however the fucking saying goes. God damn it, I zigged when I should have zagged. From time to time, he will also pull out his anime and do a long jumping swipe at you that kinda reminds me of the jab from Naruto. To relive an old and certainly not dead meme, Omae wa wo shinderu, or some shit like that. I don't fucking know how to pronounce it. Anyway, that attack is the reason why I generally always position myself in a way that I can break the line of sight pretty instantaneously and whenever that I want. He doesn't use this often, but it can be a real bitch to escape from. The other one reason why I stay light on my feet is his fireballs, because this enemy whips out those fireballs very frequently, as a matter of fact. And the bullet line makes it quite obvious of the shitstorm that is coming your way, but mind your step around the blast zones, as it's very easy to miss, and in doing so, lighting yourself on fire, which is easier to do than you might originally think. And it's very embarrassing to die in such a way by simply being lit on fire with a dots when you're on 1% HP. Trust me, you don't want to do that. In some cases, he may also roar after an attack as well, causing everybody to react the same way that enemies do when you use a flashbang, and inflicting suppression on everybody, which makes you move slower. This attack is highly debilitating and can certainly be a kiss of death from the resulting stun. Beyond this, the Dirty Scissor will simply run at one specific target until he's within range to do his basic claw attack. You should only get hit from one of the attacks in this combo, but the knockback can set you up for a follow-up strike or a roar, and that's just very, very bad. Alright kids, so I just threw a lot of information your way regarding his attacks. Now's the part where I tell you how to deal with said information. The basic thing to remember is that it doesn't really take anything fancy to stay a step ahead of this boss. Truly. Literally every one of his moves, with the exception of one, can be completely bypassed and evaded by running at the right time, even with a low agility score, simply because quick stepping into a run is all the speed that you need to stay out of the attack range, with his claw combo being that one exception. But you should be able to roll away after baiting the attack. Your usual Shield Matrix and Omnia Veneta skills can of course make any defensive approach a little bit easier, but honestly, I rarely use them on Dirty Scissor just because positioning alone makes this boss more than doable. The only real issue is dishing damage to the boss. It's as hard as finding a good moment to light him up, essentially. So keep an eye on your environment so you don't go backpedaling into a wall, and don't forget to shoot at him, of course. And if you need a good example of what I mean by good positioning, then take a look at that normal mode run. It's a bit cheesy, but it is a very good strategy. Offense is an important part of this fight, as with any fight in this game, and typically RPGs in general, seeing as if you aren't implementing a good enough offense, then the fight is doomed to last a fucking eternity. So let me share with you my knowledge on this subject, shall we? As I said in the intro, Dirty Scissor is the damage sponge of all damage sponges. I have never seen anything in this game eat so much fucking damage than this enemy type. I shit you not. And the weak spot is atrocious, because get this, the weak spot isn't his face, it's his horns. Would you those horns? I would those horns. This is very important if you want to snipe or use explosive shot. The latter of those is doable, by the way, it's just I didn't test it out on camera, essentially. So anyway, while you're dethroning the Sponge King of Angmar, just remember that if he's facing you, he's probably going to be breathing down your neck in about 2 seconds, because he's pretty quick, believe it or not. So if you have a chance to hit him in the face, it's usually because you have aggro. Don't let greed outweigh your fear, though, because he will totally take full advantage of this, as well as taking full advantage of your ass. But anyway, let's move on. I've had the most luck using sniper rifles against this enemy with a high burst damage to the weak spot with high crit or high weak spot damage weapons, rather than high rate of fire spray and pray tactics. It just works better, at least in my opinion. So if you want the best weapon, that would be my suggestion. It works well because there aren't very many good opportunities that you will have to light up his face with something full automatic. So a sniper rifle essentially gives you the option to be patient and take powerful pot shots while still focusing on staying alive. Explosives aren't exactly bad, but they aren't a weakness either. I didn't test it out on camera either, so chalk that one up as well. Rockets hit twice, just like they hit a lot of things twice, but they also have the potential to hit his horns, which is pretty good, but I don't know, the numbers just didn't really amaze me necessarily. Maybe my rocket launcher's outdated. I'm not sure, but Graviton Shot is always a good choice against him. The only real trump card of this fight that I noticed was status ailments, believe it or not. Poison seems to do an awful lot of damage to him. I could literally see the health bar just dropping noticeably when Itsuki landed a dot. This of course stacks with fire, which didn't seem quite as effective, and then there's stun, which I really don't think I need to explain that any further on how useful stuns are. Alrighty, so let's get into the runs now. Not like the disgusting ones that involve a toilet and a bathroom and everything, but I mean like my runs for the... whatever, you get it. I ran straight to the boss from the last recording with everything that I had when I ended the session. So the only thing that could be different is my stats right here. Now, at the beginning of the video, I mentioned a glitch that makes your character stand still and do absolutely nothing when fighting this boss. This happens in other areas of the game as well, but it's especially common in this very specific room. Something breaks with their pathfinding. So I usually avoid it and run straight into the room, immediately banking to the right. They can still glitch out, by the way, which is immediately obvious when you see Itsuki in my second extreme mode run, but it just tends to bypass it usually when you run into the room further. If you fight them at the doorway, that's usually where the problem is. At least for me, so it's become a ritual at this point. The second important thing to get from this run is the importance of the environment and turning it into your bitch. I always fight the boss right up here if you want minimal trouble, just because if you pull hate, then roll off of the corner. If he lands on top of you, then climb up the slope and then rotate back around up into the corner, or just use your UFG to climb back up. It's really that simple. This will remove 90% of your stress from the fight in general, as you won't be worrying about getting hit, and you only really need to worry about making the kill at that point, which can be a bitch if you're just dumping bullets into him and not caring about his weak spot. Try to always keep your distance from him if you can manage it in case he shouts, but I'm pretty sure he will only do that when he runs up to an enemy and then does his claw combo when he's on lower health. So I think you're good for a large portion of the fight, not worrying about it. Beyond that, it should be an easy victory. Now you can run around the room and press all of those shiny red buttons that you wanted to push so badly. Anyway, normal mode is done, all is said and completed, and it looks pretty simple, right? What about extreme mode? Well, honestly, all the same shit should work, to be perfectly honest. He's just even fucking tankier than last time. My setup with this one, this time, was a poopy Sylph Assault Rifle with debuff stacking and my AMR Deathwind rank 8. I never really used the sniper rifle. Actually, I didn't use it at all during this fight. And for those of you who feel the deja vu, yes, this is my healer preset. I wanted to test out fire damage, poison damage, and stun on him. Basically just all of my debuffs to see how that worked. This was the ultimate goal, so I kept my defense down on the boss and just kept my allies alive and attacking the enemy, while I stacked up stun and then lit it up whenever he fell over. Any time between this was spent stacking debuffs, and take note that Itsuki uses Toxic Gas Shot 3. which is a large reasoning to why his poison hurts so much. And I think this is also fair to say about Blazing Blast, so I think that's the only reason why I haven't been really amazed with debuff in any way, shape, or form until I put Itsuki in the party. So I might spec towards a dot build soon and look for some memory chips to further increase the damage, because honestly, it seems pretty overpowered on this guy. From what I was googling at least, it seems to be that way with a lot of enemies, not just this guy in particular, so might be a viable strategy, guys. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Tune in next time to see the next piece of shit that I get to maim on camera for you. Peace and chicken grease.